Whew, I knew I was going to be surrounded by ignorance, but damn, let's go. Greetings. I am Amanda Seales, widely known as a comedian, an actress, a disruptor, an annoying person on the internet who always tells the truth. And I am now an artistic intellectual who commits myself to making art that educates. And today, I am surrounded by 20 Black conservatives. My final claim is Black conservatism fails to meet the needs of the working class.
Working class, that's really a Black conservative thing, in my humble opinion.
I would beg to disagree. I think that would be true if Black conservatism also created pathways for people to get those jobs and also to be able to challenge the corporations that are using their labor, that are stealing from them and not impeding them from having a union. So for instance, like in the South, right? I just left North Carolina where I met with the USSW, the Union of Southern Service Workers. This is an unofficial union of individuals who work at places like Waffle House, at Food Lion, etc. And their unofficial union is unofficial because the conservatives in that state will not allow for them to be officialized?
Legitimized.
Legitimized!
There you go. I got you.
It will not allow for them to be legitimized because then they would be able to push back legitimately on the corporations to get fair wages, right? So like someone was telling me in this organization that she was in Baltimore getting $15.25 as a minimum wage, and then when she moved just one state away, she was now only getting $7.25 for minimum wage, but the cost of living was the same for her. So when we talk about, you know, the effort of saying go out and get these jobs and get these trades, et cetera, I think that is valid, but I think that the impediments by leveling up corporations and by pouring into the effort of corporations to keep billionaires, as Black conservatives, you are actually cutting off the ability for those people to excel.
Okay. Didn't you also say earlier that you're against unions? But are you
No,
for them now?
I never said that.
Oh, so you're for unions?
Absolutely.
So when the unions keep Black folks out, you're for that as well? Because that's traditionally what they've done, keep Black folks out, correct?
Obviously, I am not for that. The reality is that unions have definitely in the beginning kept Black folks out. And the reason why they were keeping Black folks out is because after the Civil War, when there was Reconstruction, you had all these Black people that had been used with free labor and they had skills, right? Whether they were a blacksmith or a carpenter or whatever. However, they could not get jobs because the white people who now had to fend for themselves, if you will, because they didn't have slaves, they had to go and learn all these trades.
Right.
And so they actively kept Black people out of those jobs. And then what they would do is that when they would, as a union, say, we're going on strike, the Black people would be like, well, we'll work because they won't let us in their union anyway. And then when they would go and actually get those jobs that the people were on strike for, they would hang them. They would lynch them. So yes, these are real things that have taken place. But we keep having these conversations where we acknowledge the past when it's convenient, and then we only stay in the present when it's convenient. So you can't simultaneously say, well, everybody's fine now and there's no systemic racism at the same time as stating that there are unions that are racist and unions that aren't racist. Ultimately, there is racism in the United States. It is deeply embedded. We have seen it in a myriad of examples, even just yesterday or today. And Black conservatives are working against the working class because they are actively placing their vision, their ideology of Black excellence in economics solely.
Well, there is racism
and in individual economics. Okay. And I think that's really the big difference of what we're talking about right now. You're talking about every man for themselves. Every man for themselves.
No. I don't say that.
Oh, you didn't say that?
I say that's where we come from as Black conservatives. So I think
there's a difference between relying on and acknowledging that there are impediments of. And I want to acknowledge the reality that we keep seeming to bump up against, which is that everybody has equal ability, and they don't. Everybody doesn't have the same impediments. So, for instance, I grew up with a single parent, not because...
Me too.
I grew up with a single parent, not because my father was some deadbeat that didn't have... My father has a MD from Harvard. My father has an MBA from Tufts.
My dad was a firefighter, so working class, conservative.
He just didn't want to be a parent. So when we talk about this whole idea of like, oh, the Blacks that are, you know, not doing the thing, it's not about necessarily what class you're in. It's literally just about we live in a nation that gives the option of I don't want to be a parent. We live in a nation that gives the option of, I don't need to be in cooperation with our community. And as far as I'm concerned, Black conservatives do not address the needs of the working class, which are fair access to resources, which are equal access to getting jobs, which are equal pay to the same access as others. And we don't.
Equal to who?
equal to other states even. Like there's no reality where you can say that the same amount of white people are working low wage jobs per capita as black people. A lot of the reason is because there's such a disparate incarceration of black people that it impedes their ability to get higher level education as well as higher level employment because we know about disenfranchisement. I've never disapproved that.
Okay, so
That's not what DEI is.
Okay.
Do you know that?
Well, I'm not talking about DEI right now. Well,
because you're suggesting that I suggested that somebody should get a job just because they're black. And I've never asserted anything like that.
I mean, I understand that you may not say that exactly, but a lot of the claims are, you know, they're pointing to that.
No, it's not pointing to that. And so that is that. I need to clear this up because it's a really important point.
Okay.
We live in a nation that has actively pedestaled white people. Can we all agree on that? That we
in the past,
we can't.
in the past, but not currently. But not currently.
So okay, fair. Okay. So how many black people are part of this administration's cabinet?
I'm not sure. Can you tell me? Can you fill me in?
0. Who?
So it seems like there may be a couple.
That's not a cabinet.
I don't know.
Scott Turner.
Okay.
So
there are.
So we got 2.
So there are.
So we got 2.
Can we
got
also?
2. We got 2. So back to your point, DEI is about expanding.
Oh yes. Okay.
Not lowering credibility.
Okay.
So if we have a system that has very actively said these particular people are the best people simply because of their race, DEI said, or their gender.
Okay.
Because DEI mostly leveled up white women.
Okay. So it would be incorrect if it's, you know, if we're pointing toward this, you know, a majority of race is qualified because of the skin, the base of their skin color.
Absolutely. Yeah. Whether they're white, black. I mean, race is fake anyway.
Now, I do want to touch on a point that you did mention earlier, that you would argue that, you know, black people have less opportunities in America. I do not agree with that. I have not had, you know,
first of all, you're a light-skinned woman.
And so are you.
Yes.
And you're doing great for yourself.
Yes, and so colorism really does serve us.
I do want to say, why do you think that is, though? Why do you think that do you think it's just based off the color of our skin, or do you think it's based off of the reputation that black people make for themselves?
What reputation are black people making for themselves?
What would you argue? Because I mean, when I look
who makes the reputation for black people?
Let's look at music, for example.
We already had this conversation with somebody else.
Well, we're gonna have it again. Most of the people that
are we?
Most of the people.
I'm gonna shut it down right now and let you know that the reality is that when you come to black music, for you to say most of the people, you've already lost the argument.
Am I right?
There is no most of the people with black people because you haven't heard of all of black music.
Most of the music that is, let's say, maybe exalted are shown by the media, right?
And who controls those systems?
It defiles black Americans. But who's putting it out there? We are black. We're the ones putting it out there.
Actually, the distribution systems that are putting them out there are owned by white people.
Who listens to them? Because I can bet you, most of my friends, my black friends that are not conservative, they listen to that music that defiles their bodies.
You know
that
who
talks
else
about black on black crime, and
everybody else.
Thing.
But if we don't acknowledge that they are not in the same way pursuing white voices talking about the same thing, even though they are. We simply like to start at the branches of a tree and not at the root. We have to understand that the media is king. Okay, media is king,
and media does not favor conservatism. I can tell you that right now. I mean, look at the protests right now in Los Angeles.
Depending on who is in office, media does favor them.
Media we have Trump in office right now, and media is not favoring Trump at all.
Media is absolutely not favoring Trump in certain spaces because Trump is also not favoring that particular type of media. But it depends on the day, and we have to acknowledge that regardless of whether you talk conservatism or not, media has never favored black people at any point.
Ben Carson separated two twins at the back of the head, and he's known as one of the best pronounced neurologists or neuroscientists that we've ever seen, right?
Ben Carson said that slaves were immigrants.
Well, they were brought here to the United States, and many of them were slaves, and we know that to be a fact.
What is the difference between someone being an immigrant and being a stolen person?
I mean, I understand that many people were stolen here, but white people didn't show up and just start stealing people. They didn't do that. That's not how that worked.
They literally did that.
But they didn't. They worked with black owners and the Arabs.
They literally did that.
It's funny,
and Arabs did that as well. And I think it's very important. And I think it's important to note that there is an oversimplification of history as well as of black people in Africa. There's a failure to acknowledge that in Africa, black people did not consider themselves black people. That was a racial distinction that was solely created by white oppressors to legitimize slavery.
Arab oppressors, actually, because the Arabs did it in the 7th century. They were the first ones.
They did not name it under blackness. They simply just decided we're going to go and have enslavers. This was a decision that was actualized and then tried to be pushed forward through eugenics. Literally, there was an executive order that was passed a few months ago that said that Donald Trump wants to now control the museums because he wants to take back control of the narrative around race. And in one of these museums that they cited was that there was a display that speaks about race not as a biological thing, but as something that has just been created as a social construct. And he stated that that is an incorrect expression of race, that race is biological.
But it is biological. Like, let's look at our phenotypical traits, the nose differences,
wow.
the hair texture. It's a biological thing.
Oh,
sure, there's a social
not,
concept, but there's biological differences that exist.
You're very convicted in your lack of information around
different.
these things. Race and ethnicity are two different things, okay? Ethnicity is where you're from. Race is literally something that was created to put people into categories of caste, to put people into categories of oppression. Race is not something that you are. Race is something that was bestowed and put upon you.
That's racism, not race. Race is simply the aggregation.
No, race is literally something that was created and put upon you. And I want you to listen to me as somebody who has studied this, who has a master's in African American Studies from the Institute for Research in African American Studies at Columbia University. I want you to understand very clearly that race is not something that is biological. There is literally
Look at us.
no.
Look at the differences.
There is many differences that are equated to ours that
And
has
they're
nothing
not
to do with
biological?
race.
Melanin
That has nothing to
content
do
is
with
not
race.
biological at all?
So if you have a black parent and you have a white parent, and now you come out looking white, how is that a biological
But most
proof of your race?
most of them
There's
come
no
out
most of them.
having
Stop,
curly hair.
Stop. There's no most of them. You do not
Mixed
have
race?
anything to
You're
prove
mixed
that.
race, too.
I am not mixed race. My mother is black and my father is black.
Well, my father is also considered black, but he's very much has a lot of European DNA in that.
You know what I think? I think that you are at a phase of your learning where you are a contrarian. And I look forward to seeing your development, because I have a feeling that you're actually going to flip the script eventually, because you are somebody that definitely is grounded in wanting to learn facts and wanting to learn the truths of things. However, you're currently still stuck in an indoctrinated space that is tricking you into thinking that you are something that you are not. You are a black person who is literally having to receive the results of racism, but ultimately you are of an ethnicity that has thrived in spite of it. And that is where we really exist from. And that is where our resilience comes from in spite of systemic racism.
Against, you guys don't ever do this. KTS,
You
Dre,
guys don't ever do that.
KTS,
Who is
Dre.
you guys?
Members of the black community. You guys, you earlier said BLM
Stop
is about
referring
police.
to me as you guys.
Okay, that's fine.
Where are you from?
Where am I from? What do you mean by that? Like, what state am I from? Where was I born?
Where do you live right now?
I live in Florida. I was born in Angola, though. I was born in sub-Saharan Africa, okay?
Where did you grow up for most of your time?
In Maine. I lived in North America.
In Maine?
Yes.
And what is the population of black people in the town that you're from?
It's really extremely low, but I grew up around black people, and there's a black community where I lived.
And that black community that you lived in, did they teach you about black history in the United States?
I learned black history.
Are your parents black American?
Yeah, my mom is black. My father is black.
No, I'm asking, were they born in the United States?
No, because I wasn't born there.
Oh, so you guys are all from Angola?
Yes. You earlier said that BLM is worried about police, but when Daniel Penny choked out the man that we all know was causing violence on that subway train,
he was not causing violence.
He was threatening people.
Causing disruption is not causing violence.
He was threatening people.
Causing disruption is not causing violence.
And the people there helped him also, and we know that he helped them.
I don't know what that has to do with BLM. Random people on a train is not Black Lives Matter.
BLM showed up for that. They did.
Showed up for what?
BLM showed up threatening white people, saying that they were going to go get white people now. They
BLM
did.
protested.
BLM New York.
BLM protested. Where did you get that from? You see,
BLM
your sources are not. You're not able to cite your sources.
In
Please
New York.
go sit down.
Yeah, that's the truth.
It's
you
not
can
the
try to
truth.
avoid it.
It's not the truth. It's not the. Nothing you say is actually the truth. Nothing. You're not even American. You're not even a black American. As the daughter of an immigrant, it is imperative that black people from other places understand the disparate difference that they exist from black people in the United States. It is not the same. Period. And ultimately, the best effort that we can do as a diaspora is to lead in understanding, not in judgment. So when I am talking to somebody from Sudan, from the Congo, from Angola, I am listening to understand their experience, not to undermine it. And I refuse to allow anybody from Grenada, from Angola, from any other place to come and try to undermine the experience of Black Americans.